talking about what we always talk about in these segments, the little problems that we have with owning these cars, the little things that you don't really hear about on Top Gear or any of these other review programs. So let's just see what we got here. But so far, I don't foresee many problems in this car's future. So the number one that we came up with, and it's going to be number one for pretty much any exotic Italian car, is going to be your maintenance cost. Let's just be real here.
Yeah.
The Gallardo is a bit of an exception because at the end of the day, that's just an Audi. But with this car, not so much. Care to tell us how much that thermostat cost you?
Well, the coolant thermostat went out, and that was $800. I thought the key was lost. I thought I lost the key, so I went to the dealer and tried sweet talking to giving me a discount on the key. He said, no, it's $900. No matter how much you sweet talk us, we cannot reduce it because the dealer charges us, and the dealer has to do a lot of work. So with tax and the math, that's $1,000. So you know what the solution is? Don't lose the key.
That sounds like a pretty good solution to me. To save yourself $1,000. Don't lose the key, and to save yourself about $600, don't try doing a loud pull in a Ferrari if there's a cop around. That'll save you $600 too.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, you just could have a sweet talker in the car and hold off that way.
Luckily, this guy knows how to talk. So.
All right. So
anyway, I think the biggest downside of this car is the electrical system is extremely complex. And the electrical components are made by Bosch, which is a pretty good outfit, but there's just so much stuff. There's so many fuses and relays and timers and timeouts. Something's got to go wrong. In fact, last week, the remote release from the trunk and these buttons here to lock it up and unlock the doors quit working. So I went through the shop manual, Xerox, that chapter. I went to a friend of mine, Nick Bogart, and he spent about an hour on it. We could not find out where, when two things go wrong, there's probably one component that's the problem. We couldn't find it. And I went back to the dealer again, trying to sweet talk him out of a wiring diagram. The answer is absolutely no.
thanks.
So I'm going to be searching online, and if you don't mind, you could occasionally look for them.
Yeah, I'll have to look around.
Yeah, and eventually I will get a wiring diagram for this car.
Okay.
And this car actually has been reasonably trouble-free. I had a Maranello that was kind of mediocre as far as the frequency of repair, but it had a lot of miles on it. This car has been pretty good.
So how many miles did you have on that?
I had 30,000 miles.
Oh wow, yeah, so that's pretty high for Ferrari.
So I had, when I first bought it, I had everything done, but I had belts done, motor mounts, they checked they did a leak down check on it, $7,500. Enough to buy a good transportation car.
Yeah, exactly. That's almost twice what I paid for that Mustang that I drive to school every day.
When you buy a Ferrari, you go into the transaction with your eyes wide open. It's not going to be cheap.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got pretty high maintenance costs. The electrical system gives you some issues. And also, would you care to tell us the other drama you almost had with that? We talked about the key, but would you care to tell us a bit about what you were going to have to do if you actually had to replace said key?
Oh, well, I was going to have to kiss ass.
Okay.
I was going to have to bring a couple of secret numbers to the dealer, and if you lose those secret numbers, your ass is grass.
So there's no way to get them back from Ferrari?
Well, you can get them, but they have to send off to Italy to get them, and it takes a long time and it costs a lot of money. If you lose one key, it's $1,000. If you lose both keys, you might as well mortgage your house.
Okay then.
So do not lose both keys. Keep them in separate places.
Alright, yeah. Well, see, there's the other trick though. When you pick a special location, make sure it isn't too special.
And you
Because you'll forget where that location is.
I have done that.
I'm going to admit something here on camera. I've done that with some very sensitive computer data, shall we say.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping my mother does not come across a hidden flash drive. Otherwise she'll get quite the shock if she pulls that open.
Is it some sort of adult art?
Yeah, let's just call it. Let's leave it an art. It's
All right,
art.
yeah. All right.
Another one that we were talking about a few minutes ago was the lack of a lift kit on the front of this car. Now Lamborghini was doing that in like 05, so I don't quite get what Ferrari's excuse for not putting it in is, unless they're going to claim weight. But
I would guess that would probably be it. I would love to have it in front of this. My driveway has a sharp entrance. Every time I go up and down the driveway, it scrapes. The Maranello, every time I scrape the front air dam, it gets shredded, and then I have to piece it back together with resin. Luckily, I was a surfer when I was young, and I knew how to work with fiberglass. This car here doesn't really have a splitter. It has a strong, what do you call it? Right under the grill. It's really strong, and I've hit it dozens and dozens of times, and it's still intact. That's another thing I like about this car.
hey, this is the things that aren't good. We did all the complimentary last week.
Right.
And we built it up last week. We break it down this week.
Yeah.
Right. But, you know,
Well, there isn't much you can say bad about this car.
I think the last thing we were able to come up with was the automatic transmission. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you start it up, it always reverts to automatic mode. I always switch it up to automatic mode. The first thing I do when I start it up, I don't like the decisions that the computer makes. It shifts too soon, too early, and I think that's probably plowing and scraping to the EPA to try to improve the mileage slightly.
Probably a little bit.
And when it shifts at a low RPM, it kind of slips a little bit. It's kind of like a Buick 904 transmission. It slips.
Yeah, actually my Cadillac has the hydro jerk transmission. We talked about that one too. Well, with those older automatics, it was, you know, first and second you never felt, third and fourth you never felt, but you knew when you switched from low range to high range gears, you were just thrown all over the place. Yeah, for me in the automatic mode, it's less. You don't get this immediate, like in manual. When I want to give this car some gas, it's gonna get up and go. But in automatic mode, it's almost as if it's like, are you sure you want to gun the car right now? Oh, okay.
When you step on the gas in automatic mode, the car says, "What do you want from me?" You know? Yeah, you would have been in fourth, and it would have just walked.
Yeah, but otherwise, when we're in manual mode, then we step on it.
Luckily, it's easy to switch this car into manual.
Yeah.
If you pull either paddle after you start it, it goes in manual mode, or you can push this button right down here.
Okay.
But I usually do it the easy way, and I drive 99% of the time I drive in manual mode.
Yeah, and you know, with some cars, it's a matter of saving the clutch. Like again, another car we were talking about earlier, the Gallardo. That car, you slip the clutch a lot in automatic, and it just wears your clutch down, especially the early ones. But I don't feel a lot of slipping driving this car in automatic.
No, it doesn't. But there's another downside of this car that I just thought of. Do not back this car up a steep hill.
Okay.
You'll burn out the clutches.
Oh yeah, I remember we talked about that. Yeah.
And you take your retirement funds and you buy another clutch.
I'd say backing up this car in general is not easy. Like, as hypercars and supercars go, the visibility in this car is probably the best of any of the ones I've driven. But on the same time, looking out of the back, I mean, we could have, I don't know, Bar Raffaele stripping back there, and we might not know about it at all. Right? But then you do this, and you realize, who gives a shit what's behind you?
There's that torque again.
Yeah, you know, every time I drive a Ferrari, I can't help but think about that one line in, I want to say it's Gumball Rally, in the Daytona, where he says, the first rule of Italian driving, what is behind you is not important, right? Because, I mean, what problem can't this car solve with a little bit of that?
What I like to do with this car is put it in manual mode, open up, there's no cars around, I'm on the open street. I goose it for a moment in first, just for a moment, but I put it in second, get the revs up, nail it for just another moment, do the same thing in third, and I do it in fourth. Fun.
And we have one other thing and that was the how photogenic this car is.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
right.
not very.
Well, it doesn't look good in photographs. You see the car in real life, it grows on you. Each time you look at it, you see another crease or another line.
Yeah, there's that those little details that, like the C and D pillars on these cars, you don't realize how gorgeous they are until you see it in person. Just that swooping arc, the little gap there. It's just phenomenal, but when you see it in pictures, it just looks like an ugly panel. Yeah. I'd say that's a sort of downside to any Pininfarina car, because almost every Pininfarina car you look at, it'll still be good in pictures, or not so good, but when you see them in person, okay, with the exception of the Alante, which I can say, because my family has owned one since I was old enough to talk, but with the exception of that car, Pininfarina designs always look better in person, no matter how good they look in photos or not good. Yeah. But I'd also like to point out another car, the Gallardo again. We seem to be pointing that car out a lot today. But yeah, that was
one of my favorite cars.
Okay, fair. Okay, good. Then it's a good thing we're bringing that one up. But yeah, that car doesn't photograph as well as it shows, and the Audi R8 is another one I'd like to nominate. It doesn't look good in photos, but then you look at it, God, that's pretty.
I remember when I bought this car, I had a Maranello, a 550 Maranello, and both dealers that I went to buy a Ferrari told me that the Maranello was worthless, it was useless, they wouldn't even give me $40,000 for it.
Okay.
So I left, and I went back to the second. I bought this car, and I sold the Maranello myself easily for $55,000. So I found this often two dealers want to give you a divvy to sell it yourself.
That's true.
I mean, we're talking $15,000 difference here. And when I advertised it for 55, I got a lot of. I think I could have sold it for 60.
Yeah, probably.
And these dealers wouldn't even give me 40.
Yeah, well, I mean, dealers, they've got to make their profit, and they know they're going to take a hit with a lot of pre-owned cars, but I mean, come on, let's be real here. You're not going to have any trouble selling a Ferrari for under 70 grand.
Yeah.
Somebody out there is going to, even if it's a high mileage car, somebody is going to want to buy that car.
Yeah. I think those guys knew exactly what my Maranello was. I think they were driving me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Like, as much as some of these, like, pre-owned exotic dealers, you know, the guys are usually pretty decent guys because they're car guys.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're never going to give you what they actually can afford to give you, because they've got to cover their own butts at the end of the day.
It costs them a lot of money to keep their doors open.
Yeah.
Every day it costs them a lot of money to keep their doors open. But the exotic car dealer that I finally bought it from, they called me back a couple months later and they wanted to buy it back.
Well, so that's not a downside. So we're gonna dock this car a point for that. And just for that, because it held its value, they wanted to buy it back, we're gonna give it back a point, because normally you lose your ass when you buy a car like this.
When the guy called me, he said this car had a pretty good list of options. This car has all the options except the battery connector in the trunk.
Yeah, and which makes no sense, because as you were telling me and as we checked,
That was the cheapest option.
Yes, the cheap option, like the carbon ceramic brakes, $18,000.
Yeah, just for the brakes.
Yeah, and it's $5,000 a rotor to replace, so I'm giving it one for that, just because you need these brakes a lot in this car.
Yeah.
So sorry Ferrari, you're getting another one for that, for your expensive brakes.
Yeah. The Bose upgrade to the stereo is excellent. The sound is just beautiful. I've heard the original stereo. It's kind of mediocre. The Bose is just beautiful.
And see, we show you that at this point, but given that we don't have copyright for any of the radio stations,
Right.
we'd be hearing from some lawyers very quickly for that.
Take my word for it, folks. The Bose system is fantastic.
It's good. We'll give it to them.
Fantastic. And also it has carbon fiber all over the place. I like that.
See, that for my own personal taste, this is the first time I've liked carbon fiber in a car. Like, I don't know, I just feel like in most cars it's done so it looks so tacky in cars, and it just doesn't like M3s or any of these AMG Mercedes. It looks terrible, but here, like, it's serving a function. Like,
Lightning.
yeah, it is lightening the car, and it's actually making a difference in this car, and it works here. But most of the time, you see carbon fiber, it's those stupid door mirrors that people pay, you know, $500 extra for on their BMW, or some stuff like that. It just irritates the living daylights out of me anyway. So yeah, that's another thing you learned about me today. I do not like carbon. For the most part, I don't like their carbon fiber.
I didn't know that. I love it. I love carbon fiber.
Fun Ferrari fact: you can always check if an F40's paint is original, because you should be able to see the weave of the carbon fiber. That's right.
You can see it.
But so that's how you can always check if the F40 has been painted properly or it has original paint. You'll be able to see the weave of the fiber. Other than that, I'd say we've gone over pretty much everything there is to go over with this car. But on the other side of the coin, I'm trying to drag this out as long as I can so I can
Because you're driving it?
Exactly, I'm trying to hold this out as long as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys will like, subscribe, tell us what you think about these videos. And now, if you'll excuse me,